Okay, so welcome to my May wrap-up. It's a little late this month because I impulsively filmed a tag video at the very end of May, and so I couldn't post my TBR until the very beginning, until the first week of June. And now here we are, midway through June, and now we're finally getting my wrap-up. So, woo! And it's a very Sapphic wrap-up, so it actually works perfect for the month of June. So we love that. Like literally every single one of these books on my wrap-up list contains a character that is at least, like, if they aren't a lesbian, they are at least bisexual. So yeah, that's what's happening here. So May was my month for that. I don't know why. In June, it's not my month for any LGBT representation. So I'm never on task. Never on task, not a one. Anyway, so the first book in my wrap up for May is, I read this one at the beginning of the month, so it's been kind of a while, so bear with me, but Harley Quinn Reckoning by Rachel Allen. This book, 5 stars. 5 freaking stars. This is probably, I kept saying this earlier in the year, and I've kind of come away from saying it, but this may be my favorite book of the year. I've said that about a lot of books though, so I'm really gonna have a hard time choosing when it comes around to the end of the year to figure out what my end of the year favorites are for the entire year. That's gonna be a tough video. But anyway, so this book, Harley Quinn Reckoning. It's basically a reimagining of Harley Quinn's origin story. It's a lot more of a feminist take, so instead of her like being lured in by the Joker, so she's in this program, so this is like her summer before college, and she gets into this like STEM program, and so there's, as we all may be aware of in the STEM field, there's a lot of I don't know, do we call it discrimination? We can call it sexism. We'll call it sexism. Sexism within specifically in the STEM field, there's a lot of sexism happening and stuff like that. And then also just like in life in general, there's like certain things that happen to some women that get shoved under the rug a lot of times at universities and stuff like that, involving SA and stuff like that. I don't know if it's okay to say the full words on YouTube, so I'm just gonna call it SA. But yeah, so one of the characters that Harley cares about is SA'd, and then I don't remember what steps happen next, but then she kind of gets her like first taste of vigilante justice from that, in terms of like she and that friend that got SA'd end up being like tag teaming together to like kind of get back at this guy for doing this, and they end up like doing this really like cute thing, because you gotta understand it's a YA novel, so they did this really cute thing where they did some sciencey stuff, and like I think they 3D printed some things. I don't know anything about science or 3D printing at all, so I was a little confused as to exactly what they were doing, but they did something and ended up like shooting the guy, not with bullets, with the word no. I think it was, or like no means no, or something like that. Remember, this was the beginning of May, and now we're midway through June, so I don't really remember, but something like no means no, or no, and it almost like paintball, in which it like stuck to his like clothes and his skin and stuff like that, so he's like almost branded, at least for a little while, until he like goes and washes it off. But it's like really embarrassing for him in the moment, and they actually like videotape it happening too, so then and it like kind of, I think it goes a little viral, and so that's like her first taste of vigilante justice, and then it kind of like spirals on from there, as they start uncovering like some things that are going on in the STEM district of things that they are in, that is sexist and harmful and stuff like that. And it was a really, I love this. I've actually seen a lot of different takes on the Harley Quinn thing. Well, not a lot, because I don't think there are a lot, but I've watched I listened to that podcast that came out recently about her origin story that way, and then I know I think it's the original one where, well, and I know like the Suicide Squad take on it, where she was like, she like was like treating the Joker psychiatrically, and then you know, that sort of thing. So I really like this take, and I feel like it's great for a modern audience. And I'm glad that we are kind of bringing her story back for a younger audience, so that a new generation can see and fall in love with this character in maybe a better way than what we had growing up. Not that I really had her growing up, because I didn't really get into comics until within the last couple of years, to be honest. But yeah, we do get a run-in with the Joker, though. He does show up for a scene, and there's one scene where she actually, like, meets him, and it is delicious. It is literally, I hope we get more scenes. Like, as much as, like, I love the feminist take that we're going with now, I love the tension between Joker and Harley, and that, like, kind of dynamic and vibe. And so that scene, I'm hoping for, like, at least 1 or 2 more scenes of that in the sequel. I'm sure his presence in the series cannot be over. Oh, did I mention this was a series? Yeah. I'm really, really excited, because I was actually reading this book, and there was one character, because I've also watched Harley Quinn, the TV series, so I think you know where I'm going with this, but, because Harley is bisexual, and she ends up dating this one girl, Bernice, and they end up having a falling out by the end of it. I'm not going to reveal what that falling out is over. But so the one thing I was reading while I was reading this book, though, is I was thinking about it, and I was like, I absolutely love this book, but what could put me over the edge to loving it even more is if this one character, I'm not going to say the character because then it'll reveal the end for you, but although if you've seen Harley Quinn, the TV series, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But yeah, I was really, really hoping this one character was in it, and I was like, I really wish this character was in it. I understand why she's not, though, and it's fine, but it would have been just that much better if she was in it. And then at the very end, we get a little reveal that she's going to be in the sequel. And I've never ever been more excited for a sequel in my entire life. I actually wanted to read it right away, but I had to put it on hold at my library, and then it was in transit because it just came out this year, so it hasn't arrived yet, and I'm moving at the end of June, so I don't think I'm going to get to read it until July, but you bet I will be reading it in July. So then the next book I read in the month of May was Dead Space by Callie Wallace. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Maybe it's Callie? I think it's Callie. This book. Okay, and I'm going to start with, like, okay, how is this LGBT? Because I've said they're all Sapphic, so here's how they're all Sapphic. The main character is either lesbian or bisexual, I don't remember which because too much time has passed. The dead character, who's dead from the very beginning, is pansexual. There's a non-binary character, who's, like, pretty prominent, almost love interest, but we'll get into why I say almost in a little bit. And then also there's her partner that she's, like, working with, like, in her, like her work partner, you know what I mean, on the case of the dead guy. He is in a gay relationship, and most of this is all just mentioned. It's not really significant to the plot at all. It's like one of those ones where it's not significant to the plot, but it's there, and I love that vibe where it's like they're just existing as normally, and it's just having them casually there is just, I think that's such a good thing sometimes, just to have them all casually there. Like, they could have all been straight people and it wouldn't have changed anything, but it's really, really cool that they're not. So but anyway, so into why I said that thing about the one character. I don't remember that character's name. I believe it starts with an R. Maybe it's like Rio or something. I don't know. I'm gonna be real, and I'm not gonna look, because I'd have to probably look through the book, and I don't have the book anymore because I am a library person. But anyway, so the mystery was really compelling. I was really invested in that. And we do get closure with that. The thing is, the entire book, I rated this 3 stars because I wish we would have gotten more from every single character in this book. Even the main character, like, all the characters are very one-dimensional. There's not much happening there, and they do not have any arcs throughout the entire story. There's no arcs for any character, no character arcs whatsoever, not even for the main character. And the main character has a glaring flaw that comes up time and time again. It's clearly a theme throughout, and we do not get a closure of that arc at all. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Why are we, like, pressing this? Because she has a thing where she can't be vulnerable or whatever, and that's why I said that the non-binary character and her are, like, almost, like, the non-binary character is, like, almost her love interest, because she, like, used to hook up with them, but like, they've since, like, parted ways or whatever, and, like, the non-binary character, like, finds themselves in peril, and the main character like gets really upset about that and kind of feels bad because she kind of like still has feelings for them, but she can never let herself be vulnerable enough to share that with them, and it's like a whole thing. And it's mentioned multiple times throughout in regards to different people. And by the end of the book, we have no idea if what happens in the book changes her at all, and changes her fatal flaw there. Because it seems to be her fatal flaw throughout, but it's never ever addressed or given any closure to. And all the characters and all the relationships in this book are incredibly surface level. The only thing that really kept me going through the book was the mystery, because that's really all you have to hold on to, because all the character relationships are surface level. All of the characters are pretty much surface level, and so yeah, it wasn't really that great of a book, but if you're just there for the mystery, it won't be too bad. Okay, so then this other book I read in May, One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I love this book. I gave this book 5 stars. It was amazing. It like was everything I could have ever wanted in a book. But before we get into what I loved about it, I do want to say there is some discourse online. If you haven't seen anything about it yet, I am going to tell you a little bit about it, just so you're aware, in case this affects you in any way and may change your decision of whether or not you want to read it, for your own peace of mind. There is one scene where the main character is talking to Jane. I'm going to give names because there's actually names in this review, so I actually know their names. And also I kind of just remember, because it was the most recent one. Well, it's not the most recent, but it's like the closest to most recent one, if that makes any sense. But anyway, so August is the main character. Jane is her love interest, and Jane is from the 70s, and she got stuck in a time loop where she like can't leave this subway, and like time is keeps moving around her, but she can't leave the subway. Time is not happening to her at all. Like, she's not aging or anything. She's just stuck on the subway. And so life was very different in the 70s than it is today. And so what happens is, at one point, the main character, August, says to Jane, oh, it's a lot different than it was in the 70s. It's like, kind of like saying that it's like a lot safer now, and like, you're like although, yeah, you may have met some people on the subway who like have been bad towards you, that's not the reflection of society as a whole anymore. And I kind of forgot that Jane was a different race. Like, I was picturing her that way, but it kind of just like slipped my mind that August might have been referring to her race and not just her sexuality. But some people who are Chinese have brought up some criticism about August saying that, because August doesn't know what it's like to be Chinese in America in modern day society, so she has no right to sit there and say that, oh, it's different now, it's better now, it doesn't exist, like it basically doesn't exist now or whatever, because she doesn't know that. She doesn't have to experience that. And I will say that she is called out for it in the book. Like, she is very much so called out for it in the book, and like, I think she ends up apologizing for it or something, and being like, you know what, you're right, I don't know. So, and I know I watched a video, I think her channel used to be Read with Cindy, but I think it's now just With Cindy. She did a video about it, and she said, and of her opinion, she felt fine about it because the character got like the character's thought process was denied, like, no, that's not cool type of vibe. And she said she talked to like 2 other Chinese people who also said the same thing. So like, you may be cool with it, you may not, but just so you know, that is a line that happens in the book that some people were not comfortable with. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about reading this book and whether or not it's a good fit for you. I will let you know, it's just that one line. There's nothing else in the book that I've seen anyone talking about. But that's for you to decide. Now, on to what I loved about this book. So much that I love about this book. First of all, so she moves, August, she ends up in this apartment with these group of people. There's one guy, his name is Nico. He is transgender, and he also is a psychic/bartender. Psychic/bartender is an iconic combination. Iconic. absolutely iconic. And then there's another guy, his name is Wes. He is gay, and he had a trust fund, but then it got cut off, not because he's gay, but because he was supposed to go to school for architecture, and he's like, yeah, sure. But then I think he dropped out after like one semester or whatever, and then his family was like, no, no money for you. And so then, and then now he's a tattoo artist, and I think that's sick. I love that. Like, yes. And then there's another character, Mila. She doesn't really have much. We don't actually really know much about Mila. She's an artist, and she is dating Nico. So there's that. And then they have a neighbor across the hall. His name is Isaiah, and he is a drag queen that goes by the name Annie Depressant. I love that name. I love that name so much. I love that name. And his love interest is Wes from the apartment that August is living in. And yeah, honestly, Isaiah and Wes's relationship, top tier. I loved it. I also really, Jane and August relationship, their relationship, absolutely amazing. Just had me like gripped for the entire novel. Their entire relationship had me like just gripped the entire time. And the ending, the big, like, I don't know if it's technically the climax. I guess it would be. I don't know how I know story structure, but I don't know how to apply it. Like, I don't know how to read a book and know the story structure that's happening, if you know what I mean. So, like, I think it's kind of towards the climax of the book. There's a very pivotal scene that happens, and it's literally the most, like, it was so well done and just, like, incredible, and I loved all of it. Where because, like, the big climax is where, like, they decide, where, like, they try to basically either send Jane back to her time or get her to be stuck in this timeline and be able to leave the subway, because they don't actually know what's going to happen, because it's not like this has been done before. So they're kind of just like, well, we don't know if we can actually get you back to the 70s, but I think we can at least either accomplish that or we can get you stuck here, which neither of those solutions are ideal for a number of reasons, but either of those is better than being stuck on the subway for all eternity. So, you know, you win some, you lose some, I guess. But yeah, and the way that scene goes, literally just amazing. Top tier. Like, it's the height of drama, and it's absolutely amazing and gripping, and just, and what happens afterwards, yes. But yeah, and I loved Jane. Jane was my favorite. I don't know if she was my favorite character, but in terms of, like, do I love her more than August? I love her more than August. Like, she is a queen, an absolute queen. And I just, and then the last book I've read, I'm not going to talk while I'm doing this. Okay, so then the last book I read in May is Uncommon Charm by Emily Bergslian and Kat Weaver. I think there are some bisexual characters in this. It was not relevant to the plot at all, and it was only 94 pages. It was about, I don't even know what to tell you what this is about. This book feels like something that you have to sit down and you need to, like, read it slowly over a period of time, but I was trying to fit it into May, so it would be in this wrap-up instead of my next one, for June. So I feel like I didn't give it the time it needed, so I only rated it 3 stars because I don't feel like I gave it the time it needed, but it wasn't terrible. It feels like something you would read in, like, English class or whatever. You'd sit there, you'd analyze, you'd take your time, you'd really let yourself be engrossed in the story and, like, really sit there and think about what's happening to, like, fully understand it, I guess. Because it was, like, this guy who can, like, do, like, magic or whatever, and then he's kind of being trained by the main character's, like, mother, who everyone has a weird relationship with. And there's something to do with, like, a potential, like the mother possibly having a hand in some death, and like, the other characters, some type of relative also having something to do with someone's death, and that was, like, a big thing in it. But it's also only 94 pages. I don't know. But it was cute, and I really liked the ending. So, 3 stars. What are you guys reading in June? What did you guys read in May? Are you guys reading any good LGBT books for June? Let me know down in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you are notified every time I post, so you don't miss my next videos. I think next I'm doing an LGBT recommendations video. If not that, I'm gonna do the pride tag. I'm not sure which one's going to be easier for me to do, but one of the two is happening. So definitely hit that subscribe button so you can you know when I post my next video, and I will see y'all next week.